of Science using the keywords provided by the Dr. Lee. And so if you look at the database table, it will populate the data into publication table, so which stores all the paper data that crawled from the internet. And in the author publication table, it will store all the author and publication association type of information, like who wrote what papers. And also it also includes the address and institution of those authors, so you can perform country-based analysis or institution-based analysis. Okay, so before you use the web crawler, there are two things you need to know. First, currently this web crawler is writing data into my database, which is hosted at my house. So you need to use the VPN to access my home database. If you don't have the VPN, you cannot run this program. But alternatively, you can also create a local database in the university, so that you can crawl the data and write data into your own database. Okay, and also step 1, initialize tables.py will help you create the tables that you need. You just need to install a Microsoft SQL Server locally on some server. And second, this web crawler can only be run within the campus network, okay, because at home private network we don't have access to the Web of Science website. So please run this program only in the campus network. You can use any integrated development environment, but I suggest to use Eclipse. And also you need to have several libraries for the Python installed, including requests, okay, including the PyOGDC, including requests, and you also need Selenium. Okay, so you should have these 3 external libraries installed in Python in order to use my crawler. Okay, so if you run the program and create a database on your local machine, you can run step number 1, initialize tables. Okay, initialize tables. And the initialized tables will create 3 tables in the database, including the Web of Science task table, Web of Science publication table, and Web of Science author publication tables. After creating tables, step 2 is to fill in the task table. Before you run step number 2, you may want to check the keywords.txt so that it lists all the keywords based on which you want to search from the database. The star symbol is a wildcard. So for example, by doing disaster star, you can search disaster, disasters, terrorist, terrorism at the same time. Okay. And in step 2, you need to enter the range of years. During testing, you don't want to enter too long for the year. Okay, so for example, I'm only entering 2 years from 1999 to 2000. And the keywords being used for the search is also listed. So step 2 will automatically launch the Chrome browser and trigger the search in the advanced search system, and will pull all the results from the search history. But those tasks are not executed and crawled immediately. These tasks will be stored in the database, so later on you can run multiple web crawlers which will organize between each other to get the task from the task table and crawl the data. Wait for step 2 to finish. So when it's finished, it will tell you how many tasks are generated in the task table. So step 3 is to run a web crawler that will pull tasks from task tables and actually get the data from the web. So there are 3 parameters that you might want to consider changing. The first one is batch size, which is the number of tasks each crawler claims. So usually setting this as 5 to 10, between 5 to 10 should be fine. The second parameter, retry interval, is the number of seconds you wait during network failure. And the third parameter is the path for the log file, with which you do debugging and error checking. By running step 3, the crawler will interact with the database, and based on the keyword parameters and patient number listed in the task table, it will go to the internet and crawl the data from the Web of Science. Okay, so this is done automatically. And it will show you the progress, like passing which page and passing which article, and all the database related activities are also printed. Okay. So I have debugged the web crawler so that I have already minimized the bugs. But in case there are some bugs, you may want to check the past errorlogs.txt, which will tell you what kind of errors occurred on what date. Another log file is the parser log file, which lists all the failed regular expressions. But these failures do not necessarily mean the code has something wrong with it. For example, some articles don't have article number, some articles don't have keywords plus listed in the source. So the regular expression there's no way for the regular expression to identify the article number or keywords plus from such a paper. But anyway, these failures will be recorded in the parser log.txt. And this screen will tell you the progress of the web crawling.